Parshas Acharei seems like a roller coaster ride. It begins seemingly for no reason, telling us about the deaths again of Nadav and Avihu, followed by a description of the lofty avoda of Yom Kippurim, the holiest person on the holiest day of the year in the holiest place, doing the avoda, bringing atonement for the Jewish people. But by the end of the parsha, we've changed gears significantly. Over 180 degrees, the Torah tells us in no uncertain terms about the details of arayos, of averos, related to immorality and inappropriate sexual activity. The Torah introduces it to us and tells us, don't be like the people of Mitzrayim, of Egypt. Rashi explains why Egypt. Because they were particularly deficient in these areas. Make sure that we separate ourselves, that we raise ourselves, that we live our lives filled with Kedusha. Quickly, the serenity, the utopia of Yom Kippurim seems to disappear. The Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, the hopes for the coming year. And now we sink down to the levels of Mitzrayim, from the spiritual peaks to the deepest spiritual abyss. Couldn't the Torah have just cut the parsha short? Give us a break. Let us take pause after the avodah of Yom Kippurim, take in that serenity, that holiness. And then next week, let us deal with the practicalities of life and mistakes that people may make. Give us time to absorb. And I think maybe what the Torah is hinting to us is that our parsha is really a microcosm of life, because life is a roller coaster ride. We're going to have times when we soar to new spiritual heights and everything seems incredible, and we're living with inspiration, and we feel that closeness to Hashem. We feel that closeness to other people. Everything seems to be great. And then there'll be the times that we may fall, and things may not seem as smooth. They may even be difficult. And there are the ebbs and the flows, and we hit peaks, and we sometimes dip. But that's the reality of life. And that's what the Torah is teaching to us. The Torah is telling us this deeper idea that what greater high can there be than what we achieve on Yom Kippurim? And at the same time realize that those plans that we may have for the upcoming year, the hopes and the dreams and the aspirations, may not materialize exactly as we hope. We may fall, we may falter, but we don't give up, because we can climb right back up. Sheva yipol tzadik v'kam. Even the most righteous people fall, but they know how to get back up, and they rise from those occasions. That's the roller coaster of life. And it's a reminder that no matter how high we may have climbed, there are no guarantees, as Rabbi Gamliel taught us in the second parak of Avos last week. Don't be overly confident. We don't always know what the future is going to bring. But at the same time, don't despair when things don't go quite right. Don't get caught up in the failures or in the troubles or the difficulties. Try to move forward and raise ourselves up in life. It's interesting that may be the same reason why this section of Acharei is in fact chosen as the Kriyas HaTorah Mincha Yom Kippurim. Of all things to read about at the conclusion of Yom Kippurim, we would think something lofty, something spiritually infusing, something that would bring us excited to the apex, getting us ready for Ne'ilah. And yet Mincha, we read this Parsha of Acharei of the Arayos. Why? Why should that be? And Rav Kook in a letter explains that the reason that we do it is to remind people that even when things are going great, there's a potential for bad. Don't forget the powers of the Yetzer Hara. We have to do whatever we can to maintain our Kedusha, to hold on to it, to latch on to the progress that we've made. And as we continue to grow closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to make sure that we take that in and we take it with us. And that's the lesson, I think, of this week's Parsha. That yes, it would have been nice to stop after the avodah of Yom Kippurim, to take that in and enjoy that serenity. That's not life. Life is that roller coaster. But it's not a reason to give up. It's not a reason to be frustrated. But it's something important to keep in mind. That as we move through different phases and different days, as Rabbeinu Tam tells us, there are Yemei Ahava and Yemei Sinna. There are the days where we feel the love and the closeness to Hashem. And there are days when we don't feel it as much. But if we know that we can rise from those occasions, if we know that this is what is normal, this is what happens, and we take the opportunities to preserve the moments when we feel the closeness, and to use those moments to inspire us when things seem a little bit more difficult, then hopefully we have a successful ride through that roller coaster, and we use it to bring us to higher and higher peaks, closer and closer to Hashem.